This segment of CoastLife is sponsored by the Parker Group.
Well, if there's one thing we know for certain, it's that everything in the real estate world and market is always changing, and that it's hard to know anything for certain. But the people that are always up to date on all that ever-changing information are, of course, our friends at the Parker Group. We've got Dustin Parker joining us on the CoastLife couch today to talk a little bit about some data and how real estate agents are really going to kind of stay on top of all of this. And I think a lot of times with technology, people are afraid of, okay, where does that human element come in? And is it sticking around? But you've got some answers.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time in real estate, and it has been for the last couple of years. And as we've seen in so many industries throughout the country, data is like the topic of conversation.
Yes.
And what is really interesting about the real estate market is so much of that data has been kind of hidden behind paywalls and barriers and agents and different technology systems for the last several decades. And we're starting to see that open up a little bit to give consumers a little bit more access to it directly.
Sure. Now, when we say data, I feel like that can be sort of a broad word, term, vocab. We'll break down some of that data that maybe has been kept behind paywalls. What does that mean for the average consumer, I guess?
Yeah, so back in the day, long before I was in real estate, real estate agents used to carry around what was called these little MLS books. And so these books, these physical books, actually had all of the property listings in it. So if you wanted to find out what homes were for sale and all the details about that home, you had to approach a real estate agent who had to then go search in a physical book to find that information. Since the internet, of course, there's been some evolution in that, and other companies now have brought some of that data more publicly available to consumers. But we're going to continue to see, I think, some of that open up over the next several years as consumers demand more information, because this is a big decision, and they want to be able to understand what it is that they're purchasing before they walk down the road of contracts and inspections and start spending money.
Absolutely. I mean, I know we've talked with you guys about sort of the way that contracts have changed, what buyers need to know, what sellers need to know, and all that information that real estate agents really have at their fingertips. So what sort of information now will buyers and sellers have access to within that data, and how does a real estate agent's role kind of come into play there?
Yeah, we believe part of the change that we're implementing at the Parker Group is we believe that before you purchase a house, before you make an offer on that house, the seller should provide you with a home inspection. Because oftentimes what happens is you get under contract, you put a deposit down, and then you pay for an inspection, and then you find out the house is a disaster.
The worst. That's a nightmare. That's an actual nightmare.
Yeah, and there's just so much uncertainty in that process. And so you get into the contract, the seller's now excited that they've sold their house, the buyer's excited to buy this house, and then we get to this roadblock where agents hopefully can try to negotiate the repairs and credits to make things work, but oftentimes they don't. And so that's why we see as many as 20% of contracts fall out. And so part of the thing that we're really pushing at the Parker Group is to give this data up front. We want sellers to have these inspections done before they even list the house, so they can determine what the issues are, whether or not to fix those issues, and then present all of this information transparently to buyers.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense if you ask me. And I have not yet bought a house in my life, but I think I would really enjoy that peace of mind knowing that the house has been inspected, and I'm not going to walk in blindly or seemingly thinking there's been transparent information when there hasn't been. And that's where you guys at the Parker Group come in. I know transparency is really important to you, and navigating that between buyer and seller.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other piece too is in the state of Delaware and in Maryland as well, sellers have to disclose all of the information they know about the house.
Makes sense.
It's included in what's called a seller's disclosure, but there's also lead-based paint and radon disclosures as well. And right now, that information oftentimes is hidden behind a wall of real estate agents, essentially. There's this MLS system where this information is available to agents, but it's not directly available to consumers.
Oh, so it's available.
Yes, exactly.
I see.
And so we just think the more information that consumers have access to, the better, because they're going to have more informed decisions, they're going to have more data around the house, and just not make as many mistakes and spend money before they necessarily need to. Yeah,
you're going to make a confident and informed purchase on possibly the biggest purchases that you make in your life, and that makes a lot of sense to me. Well, Dustin, thank you as always for breaking down these sort of bigger, more complicated topics in the real estate world for us here on CoastLife. I know I appreciate it, and I know some potential buyers and sellers out there watching this appreciate it as well. So for folks that are maybe getting ready to buy or sell their home, how should they get in touch with the Parker Group?
Yeah, just visit our website, theparkergroup.com, or you can call our office or stop in. We'd love to see you in person.
Perfect. All right. We know that we love to see you sticking around with some more CoastLife. That's what's on the way.